It's the night of December 15, 2020, and on Interstate 70, Ohio State Police are rushing to the scene of a car crash. Moments earlier, the driver of a Volkswagen Jetta, who had been traveling east from Indiana, fled a traffic stop before hitting a police spike strip and rolling over. A conscious but delirious 15-year-old named Lucas Benkert was ejected from the car.
Let me see your hands! Go ahead. Hey, Kenny, you guys take the car, we'll take him. Do not move, you hear me?
I can't move.
Do not move.
I can't move. Fucking shoot me, bro. I can't move, bruh. You're just gonna break my bones more. I'm sorry. I'll try to get it back to you, bruh. I can't.
Hold on.
Get it back there, bro.
Here, sit up. Sit up. Sit up. Bring your hands back towards me, palms together.
I'm trying, man.
I got you.
I'm trying.
Okay, we got a squad coming to check you out.
Check me out. What you mean, man?
You just crashed a car.
Oh, yeah, that's
You were ejected from it.
What do you mean, check me out? Like, make sure I'm not dead?
I'm going to make sure how bad you're injured.
Oh, I can't move my legs.
Okay.
Can I lay down? Or do I gotta sit up? My back's hurting, man.
You want to lay down?
Can I?
You want to lay on your side?
Yeah.
All right. I got you. I got you.
Ohio police attempted to stop Lucas after their counterparts in Centerville, a small town in Indiana, asked them to be on the lookout for the teen in the Columbus area, which is where the 10th grader's phone communicated with cell towers.
Well, when the police got behind you, did you realize that things were bad?
Yeah.
Is that why you ran from them?
Yeah. Because I passed one cop on the highway, and I realized I was going like 5, 10 over. I was like, oh, great. Oh, it's over.
The effort to stop the teen was not for a traffic violation, but on suspicion of something far worse. It all started with a 911 call from Lucas's dad, Matthew, who returned home from work at around 9 p.m. that night. The logistics employee was greeted by a locked front door and, upon entering, a body of a person he did not recognize in his son's bedroom.
911.
Yeah, I'm at South 1st Street, Centerville, Indiana. My son is not home, and it looks like there is a dead man on the floor in my house.
Your son is not home?
No, my son is not home, and it looks like there is a dead man that I do not know who he is on the floor in my house.
Okay. Can you describe what he looks like for me?
He's older, gray. I'm not fucking walking back in there.
Matthew was worried about his son and attempted to call him several times but could not get a hold of him. The crash resulted in some of the car's contents spilling out on the road, appearing like the metaphorical breadcrumbs that investigators would typically need to mark and collect to solve the case. But this story will play out a little differently. And that's because the whole loaf of bread, its ingredients made up of the events that night, was sitting on the floor of the front passenger seat. 2 pieces of evidence, a cell phone, and a home security camera unveil a half-witted plan to get away with murder in Growing Pains.
Please fucking hurry.
I'm getting him dispatched now. I just have some more questions for you, okay? Does it look like anybody forced entry into your house?
The door was locked when I got home, I believe. I'm guessing something happened and someone locked the door before they left.
Okay. Is your son's vehicle there?
He does not drive, no.
Matthew Benkert had been sitting outside his one-bedroom home on South 1st Street when Centerville police arrived. The home's floor plan was open, meaning from the front door you had a direct line of sight into his son's bedroom, where a male lay face up, his left arm underneath his body and his feet almost in the doorway. The man had 2 gunshot wounds, one to the back of the head and another to the back of the neck, but there was no firearm around or underneath him, so they began looking for residuals. There was a slight defect in the drywall of the room, just a little above the bed, with a projectile embedded in it. The subsequent search for shell casings yielded a .380 caliber case near a small barrel outside of the room, about 7.5 feet from the door. This made sense because there was no gunpowder on the victim, meaning the shot was taken from some distance. The cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds, each shot fatal on their own. James Jason Burkhart was 51 when he was killed. Born in Richmond, Indiana in December 1969, he worked for the state for at least 10 years before retiring as a safety director for the transportation department around 2015. The psychology graduate from Ball State University started seasonal but permanent employment at Mack Trucking, for which he drove dump trucks and did highway construction. His days while on the job were long, 10 to 12 hours, 6 to 7 days a week, according to a cousin and work colleague. The weather this time of the year meant he was off work. Outside of that, for leisure, he would fish and set up backyard campfires for family and friends. Jason didn't know a stranger and would speak to anyone reads his obituary. He was quick to tell a good joke and allowed you to experience his contagious laughter and debate for hours proving his point. He was lovingly known as Grumpy Paws to his grandchildren and Uncle Meanie Head to his nieces and nephews, who loved and favored him. Matthew told police that he had a .380 semi-automatic handgun, which was supposed to be on the television stand, and a .22 revolver, which was supposed to be in Lucas's room. Neither were in the house. Police also spotted weed out in the open, which Lucas was forbidden from smoking, and the teen's ID card. Matthew was cooperative with police and told them that they may want to check the camera in the kitchen. He was put into handcuffs because police weren't sure what was going on. That left him with no hands free to pick up the phone and answer the several incoming calls he was getting on his phone from Lucas, who was on a 10 p.m. curfew. Police elected to wait on picking up any of those calls until detectives showed up. In the meantime, they got Lucas's number and contacted his service provider to get a general location, which ended up being somewhere in neighboring Ohio.
What's up?
What's up, man? Here comes your medic. I'll be here in just a minute. What's up?
You guys got me with that fire truck.
Yeah.
Police had only been working the Benkert home for maybe a dozen minutes, having no clue who the victim was when, at 9:22 p.m., dispatch got a second call from a home less than a mile away on Mattie Harris Road.
911.
Hello, my son came home and said that his dad was shot.
Where does his dad live?
His dad lives here, but they were not home. They went to take a friend home, and they all went in my car. That was the second time they went out today. They all went in my car, and my son is here.
Okay.
The woman, Fabiola Burkhart, said her son, 16-year-old Bo Burkhart, had been witness to his father's murder and ran back home to tell his mom, who then tried calling her husband James Burkhart, but got no response. Centerville's chief of police, William Buckholes, who called in the Indiana State Police to take over the investigation because the town of 2,700 people didn't have a crime scene investigator, arrived a little later and stayed at the scene, while deputies went to Fabiola's house at 9:45 p.m. A Wayne County patrolman said Fabiola was panicked, crying, distraught, and concerned, while Bo was anxious, frantic, and pacing around. The two will be transported to Centerville PD, but will not be formally interviewed. Fabiola will learn right there that her husband had passed, triggering an emotional reaction. In his initial statements to police, a distraught Bo went into detail about getting into an altercation with kids at school who had threatened to shoot him or his house. One of the students in the mix was Lucas Benkert, whose father will be transported to Centerville PD. There, he will show Indiana State Police's lead detective Andy Wandersee some messages he received from his son in the evening prior and, more importantly, the evening of. Before taking the phone as evidence, the detective will snap a photo of the final few texts. The last one from Lucas at 9:45 p.m. read, "Delete the camera app off your phone." Lucas was described by his stepmother as a quiet kid who mostly kept to himself. The 10th grader at Centerville Senior High School, who was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, had friends both at school and in the online worlds of Minecraft and Roblox, and spent a lot of time camping, kayaking, hiking, and swimming. He lived mostly with his dad, with sporadic weekend visits to his mom's. His stepmom, who had been divorced from his dad since the fall of 2020, said he did not come from a violent home, had never been around any type of violence, had never been a violent person himself, and did not have a prior criminal record, though he did recently start dabbling in weed and was apparently struggling a little bit with a divorce. She said he spent a lot of time with his family and tried to help around the house. And that's exactly what he was doing on the afternoon of December 15, 2020. The Benkert home surveillance camera, positioned in the kitchen facing the living room and the front door, captured Lucas, alone in the home, cleaning the living room per his father's instructions.
I went to the house just because he wanted me to start cleaning stuff up. So I swept the floors, wiped off the counters.
At some point late that afternoon, he looks at his phone, texts something, walks up to the camera, and then turns it over so you can't see anything.
Time to fucking go, boys.
But the microphone is still on. This camera, which is required for its companion app to work, will be removed from the kitchen later that night and put in the Jetta, which Lucas drives to his biological mom Tiffany's place after the shooting. It was just before 8:30 p.m. that night when Tiffany, who was unwell and lying on the couch, said she heard someone punch in a key code and open the door. She said her son, who appeared like he was in a rush, did not tell her in advance that he was coming. But he was candid about his curtness. He shot Bo's dad and he had to leave town before the police found him. Tiffany said she was confused by the remark and was trying to ask him questions, but her probing didn't yield anything further. When reached by phone later, Lucas told her that Bo's dad was at Matthew's place and he needed to call and warn him.
Where were you heading to?
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. Where?
I was just going to go southeast. It's
Okay.
warm.
Didn't have any planned destination?
Not at all.
So
really.
there was really no, so you didn't have a reason to be over this way, just trying to get away?
Yeah.
Okay.
As fast as possible.
Ohio police were able to retrieve key pieces of evidence from the Jetta, which turned out to be owned by the Burkharts. In the back seat was a blood-stained white sweater. On the floor of the front passenger seat was a plastic bag containing some .22 caliber bullets, the missing blood-stained camera whose memory card was still inside, Lucas's cell phone, and a matte brass .22 caliber revolver. The cylinder of the revolver was removed to show that there was one fired round, as indicated by the single leftover cartridge case. He also carried with him some clothing, a backpack, a hammock, camping gear, ammunition, earplugs, and knives. Nothing outside of the camera app text appeared strange to Matthew, who said Lucas never expressed concerns to him about Bo's dad. Outside of a text about being at a buddy's place, the rest of the conversation with his son the day prior and the day of were just check-ins, reminding the teen about his curfew. Later that night, Detective Wandersee traveled with Fabiola, Bo, and James's two sisters to the home on Mattie Harris Road. The detective had asked for Bo's phone, but there was some resistance. Fabiola's sister-in-law told them that they should get a search warrant, but Fabiola handed the phone over anyway. The phone will be taken back to Centerville PD, where Sergeant Jeremy Franklin noticed that the SIM card was missing. While it ultimately didn't matter because it's custom for crime scene investigators to remove the card for later extraction of the phone's contents, he noted that that was curious to him. Detective Wandersea and Centerville's chief of police will travel to Ohio to inspect the crash scene and then head to the hospital to talk to Lucas. Within the next couple of days, investigators will retrieve footage from surveillance cameras positioned around the city building on Main Street. One camera on the corner of East Main and 1st Street captured the Jetta turning south on 1st Street at 7:09 p.m. Another camera, positioned behind the city building, was directed toward the south on 1st Street, where you can see a little bit of the Benkert home. It shows the Jetta's headlights against the building as it turns on 1st Street and parks at the Benkert residence, where you can just barely see the shadows of 3 people entering the home. At 7:57 p.m., Centerville cameras captured the Jetta driving away from the Benkert home. At around 9 p.m., Lucas calls a schoolmate and friend named Kyle, with whom he played Xbox, and told him that he had shot and killed somebody and that he's never going to see him again. Kyle said he initially didn't believe him and asked why he would do such a thing. He said he didn't get a good answer and instead received from Lucas a photo via Snapchat of the victim laying face down, blood still pooling from his head. Despite being ejected from the car, Lucas suffered no major injuries. At around 5:30 the next morning, Lucas and his father agreed that the teen would speak with police from his gurney, where he'll make a stunning admission.
We got home. I shot him in the back of the head.
It was about as straightforward a confession as it gets. But even that won't be the big break in the case. That will come a day and a half from now, when they go through the devices. They'll determine that there was more to this confession than Lucas was giving up.
Love you.
Relationship drama, fist fights, Snapchat streaks, these would make up some of the extracurricular activities that plagued Centerville Senior High School in 2020. At least if the contents of Bo's phone were any indication. Bo was a troubled kid in school. Between 2014 and 2020, his academic records show he had a history of disrupting class, using profanity, cheating, making sexually suggestive signs towards students, cell phone violations, tardiness, being argumentative and disrespectful to teachers and students, and fighting. The day before the shooting, on December 14th, he got into an altercation with a fellow schoolmate and a former friend named Grant, which was captured and uploaded that day to Bo's Snapchat account. The story goes, Bo, who went by JJJ Ninja on the social media app, had heard that Grant was beefing with a friend of his who was dating Grant's ex-girlfriend Autumn. The beef apparently emerged in part from a time when, during their relationship, Grant physically pushed Autumn in what he said was an attempt to get her off of him when she got too handsy. As seen in the video, Bo follows the much smaller Grant, who said Bo asked him if he was talking smack about his buddy. Grant threw the first punch because he said he felt threatened. Bo returned the favor and knocked him down. Bo appeared to be riding a high after the fight, as evidenced by Snapchats he was sending about it. He did not seem concerned that he was suspended from school for 3 days. Perhaps it was the adrenaline, or maybe it was because things escalated quickly. Later that day, Grant contacted a boxer friend of his named Everett, who then started his own text beef with Bo. There was talk about another bigger fight, which would occur at Bo's house and possibly involve guns. Bo's best friend, Lucas Benkert, knew about this, and in fact can be heard on the home surveillance camera on the 15th muttering and hyping himself up about a fight. After doing his chores, Lucas can be heard leaving the house to walk over to Bo's house in part to act as backup in case the beef actually ended up at the Burkhart doorstep. Bo's mom, Fabiola, who was a work-from-home IT consultant, had been in her office when Bo told her that Lucas was here. Fabiola claims her husband James did not allow the kids to have friends over, much less when they were suspended from school, so she needed to tell him what was going on. James had been lying down when Fabiola, alongside Bo, approached his bedside. According to Fabiola, Bo had to explain to his father that Lucas was here as sort of protection against Bo getting jumped by kids from school after the fight. James was upset, according to Fabiola, and forced Bo to hand his phone over to his mom so that he would stop texting these bad influences. He then took the boys to get something to eat.
Today, I walked to his house to hang out with him for a minute, and his dad took us to... He went to KFC to get them food, and then went to McDonald's to get me and James food. And then we went back to his house, ate.
For a little bit, as Fabiola and James are downstairs, Bo and Lucas are in his room. Lucas says they are in the house for between 15 and 30 minutes. At just before 6:30 p.m., Fabiola enters Bo's room and, against James's wishes, but without him knowing, gives him his phone to text his girlfriend before taking it back. About half an hour later, the boys get into the Jetta, and James drives a short distance to Lucas's home on South 1st Street.
Okay, now when you say when you went back home...
He drove us home.
Okay, so back to your house?
Yes.
Okay.
Lucas claims he believed his dad was home and wanted James to see him.
I was gonna see if he was home so they could meet.
So you invited him in to meet your dad, and then he wasn't home, so...
Yeah.
So did you just, whenever you went in, did it just hit you then that, hey, this is what I need to do?
Yeah.
Okay. So did his dad go back in your bedroom, or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, why did he go back there for?
I thought he was in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
But he wasn't.
So you told him maybe your dad was in the bathroom or something,
Yeah.
and then, so he goes in the house and goes back in your bedroom, and then was the 380 there on the, because didn't you say you kept it there on that
It
TV?
was on the TV stand.
Okay. So that's what you used then, was that gun? Okay, so
Yeah.
you took the 380 and shot him in the back of the head?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then he kept twitching, and I thought that he wasn't dead yet, because 380 isn't that big of a gun. And so I shot him with the 22, my revolver. And that was in the car with me when I left.
Where'd you shoot him with the 22?
In the back of the head.
Okay, so all the shots were in the back of the head?
Yeah.
Okay, so once with the 380 and then once with the 22.
Yeah.
Okay. About where were you at in the house whenever you did that? Because obviously
I was right behind him, because I was walking behind him.
Okay. So you'd have been in the kind of the doorway there between the living room and your bedroom?
Almost, yeah. Like almost in the doorway.
Did James say anything to you or anything at all after all this happened?
Not really, no.
What did James do whenever this happened?
He ran out the door.
Okay.
Well, because I told him he would stay in the living room while I went and peed, because I had to pee, and he ran.
Okay.
Lucas then takes a moment to pull out his phone and record a video.
We don't fuck with pussies like you, little bitch-ass nigga. The fuck off my block, bitch-ass.
Bo, who went from distraught and frantic to more subdued as he told his story to police, said that Lucas at one point held him at gunpoint briefly before he left in the victim's Jetta. Just before the shooting, Fabiola, who still had Bo's phone, texted Lucas at 7:23 and 7:33 p.m. asking whether they dropped him off, and became concerned when she didn't receive a response. That concern turned to shock when, about half an hour later, Bo came home to deliver the news. He said something had happened and he was trying to brace me with his hands on my shoulders, and he said, "Dad's been shot," Fabiola testified in court, noting she was in a state where she couldn't process anything. I asked what happened, and I think he told me that Lucas Benkert shot him. No one came to the Burkhart door when Sergeant Jeremy Franklin knocked at 4:30 p.m. on December 18th, 3 days after the shooting. The crime scene investigator and a detective were there to follow through on a search warrant signed by a judge about an hour and a half earlier in the case against Lucas Benkert. After failing to get anyone at the door, Sergeant Franklin attempted to kick it open but only ended up getting winded. The sergeant admitted that they were unprepared for this circumstance, otherwise they would have brought a battering ram. In lieu of that, the detective used the end of his rifle to shatter a tempered glass side window next to the door, then reached in and unlocked it. Upon entry, Sergeant Franklin announced their presence. At the top of the steps were Fabiola, Bo, and his little brother Lucas, who will be referred henceforth as Luke so as not to be confused with the suspect Lucas. Before being escorted out of the home for the search to commence, Fabiola had been carrying and was made to put down 2 phones in her hand, a SIM card belonging to Bo's phone, which was taken into evidence days earlier, and a business card for a law firm. To the left at the top of the landing was Bo's room, which was a mess. It had a PlayStation, an Alienware laptop, and a folded note from an unknown writer addressed to James, which is Bo's primary name. James, I love you, homie. This hurts like a f***ing bitch and I don't want to lose you. You're like my brother. We've been through a lot in this past year and shit's been f***ing crazy, but I hope everything will be okay. I just want you to know that no matter what happens, I'll be here for you. You're my dirty Peruvian and you mean a lot to me, and it f***ing sucks that I'm not going to get to see you for Christmas. But thank you for the laughs, the cries, the happiness, the sadness, the pain, and everything else we've been through. So thank you, James. I love you, and this isn't goodbye. I'll see you again one day. Bye-bye for now, homie. I'll see you in hell, you crazy motherfucker. Police collected the devices and took note of other things around the house, including paperwork with a 2013 life insurance policy, the beneficiary of which was Fabiola, who by that point had been married to James for 17 years. It was back in 2003 when the couple wed, and it was a year and 3 months later, in November 2004, that their son Bo was born. According to Fabiola and Luke, who was born 2 years after his big brother, things were never easy at home. For as long as Bo was alive, his mother claimed there was verbal and physical abuse. The verbal, she claims, included name-calling and put-downs, and the alleged physical abuse included choking, slapping, punching, kicking, and pushing appliances and grocery carts into her. The abuse, she claimed, left lasting impressions on her, the kids, and the house, whose bathroom door suffered a hole she alleged he made with his foot when she hid in there, and an old stove he allegedly broke in anger, and that sat on the porch for months. The family had been between Indiana and Arizona, where work obligations took Fabiola, who was making a sizable $110,000 annual salary. That meant James could and would care for the kids, including homeschooling them for a period, which was an arrangement the breadwinner Fabiola claimed he did not enjoy because he had been consistently employed from Bo's birth up to the move to Arizona, which is when she said things really went downhill. While the claimed abuse was consistent against Fabiola, it wasn't immediately the case for the children, she alleged. It started with what she called excessive spanking from kindergarten through 2nd grade and then escalated against Bo after he turned 12 years old. Luke, who was spared from most of the aggression, claimed he saw this physical abuse against Bo starting when he was in 2nd grade and parroted the claimed instances of abuse that his mother made on the stand. Eventually, Fabiola alleged that James transgressed the line of discipline they vowed not to cross with the kids. No longer was he limiting the punishment to the butt and legs, which Luke claimed involved things like whipping with TV cables, but now Bo was allegedly being subject to hitting in the back, face, and shoulder. Luke, who said his coping method was hiding in his room, claimed whenever Bo stood up to his dad, it would only get worse, and involved more than just physical abuse, but verbal as well. Dumb, idiot, and fat were just some of the choice words the baby brother testified.
The thought always started when James would say something like, he always used to talk about his dad hitting his mom and stuff, and him and his brother, and I didn't like that at all.
The Burkhart kids were also subject to some extraordinary house rules, Luke claimed. When everyone was asleep, they weren't allowed to get up and use the bathroom. If James was asleep, the kids needed to be as well. If their father wasn't eating, they weren't allowed, and if he was, that was their only opportunity. Fabiola claimed when she was away on work trips, she would get texts from her kids at 9 or 10 p.m. telling her that they were hungry. Luke also claimed that they weren't allowed to do extracurricular school activities such as sports, and they weren't allowed to go anywhere after school unless it was to hang out with people they already knew. The family had moved between Indiana and Arizona twice for Fabiola's work commitments, between 2015 and 2017, and then between 2018 and 2019, before returning to Indiana. One pivotal incident occurred in 2016, the year after they moved to Arizona for the first time. Fabiola claimed James had chased a screaming and crying 12-year-old Beau around the house for disrespecting him. He ended up on a bed, where he was allegedly cornered and slapped. She said for the first time she saw a look of genuine fear that left an indelible mark on the child, who was never the same after. Before leaving for that second assignment, Fabiola said there was another incident on November 20, 2017, that got so bad she begged for help from James's sister and her pastor. "Hi, Jess. I meant to call you because the situation turned bad for us," Fabiola texted her sister-in-law just after 5 a.m. "He threw something at me while I walked away, and it escalated from there. He yelled at Beau's face and threatened both of us, and Lucas was crying. After your call, he calmed down a lot. I truly am sorry for pulling you in, and I'm glad you didn't tell him that I called. I have been praying for us, and I prayed right after your call because I knew you were probably doing the same. Thank you for being there." Fabiola testified that the conflict started when she refused to clean the house because she wasn't feeling well. James's sister Jerry Lynn, a social worker, thought Fabiola was a lazy hoarder who didn't want to throw anything away or clean the house, which caused many issues in her marriage. James was sitting in the living room when he hurled what Fabiola believed was a TV remote at her. Lucas had already been sent upstairs, but Beau, who was sitting in the other room, got upset that his mother was being treated this way. She claims James got up in Beau's face, which resulted in a wrestling match in the kitchen that ended up breaking a cabinet door that was never fixed. She said he only stopped his aggression because she was able to get his sister to call him. "Jason has issues with aggression," she texted her pastor at just before 7 a.m. that day. "His words cut us down to the bone, and he answers to no one. I have been praying for the Lord to break these chains and heal us. I felt drawn to tell you and ask for the prayer." Fabiola said she was too scared to call the police in this and every other instance in which James allegedly lost his cool, including in the most recent significant blow-up. In that case, Fabiola had to fly to Arizona for a work commitment on a Sunday in February 2020, but was delayed by a verbal fight. The reason for that altercation, according to Fabiola, was the same as the prior incident. James was upset that she wasn't doing housekeeping work fast enough. The argument continued in the car on the way to the airport. Fabiola was seated behind James and next to Luke, while Beau sat in the front passenger seat. The shouting reached a climax when James pulled over on I-70, got out, and allegedly tried physically removing Fabiola from the car as a sobbing and screaming Luke held onto his mother's arm. He had threatened and flirted with pushing her into highway traffic, but cooled down and got back in the car. Fabiola requested that they go home instead of continuing to the airport, later calling and lying to her boss about why she missed the flight. Her sisters-in-law came over and told the two to get counseling or get a divorce because the children deserved better. Fabiola spent the night at her sister-in-law's place and left for that work trip the next day. The incident affected Beau greatly, Fabiola said, claiming that the boy would cry in private and blame himself for not doing anything to prevent it. These altercations only hardened Beau, who grew more defiant of his father, more so when at 15 he hit a growth spurt that made him bigger than him. The size difference, however, didn't stop James from old habits, she alleged. A one-time girlfriend of Beau's named Olivia testified that while on a video call, she had heard shouting between his parents that almost got her to call 911. She said whenever she was at their house with his dad there, the atmosphere was tense. She said her family elected not to interfere and instead waited for the Burkharts to say something. But they never did. The alleged cycle of violence, according to Fabiola, just continued through to the night of the shooting, the day Beau, who turned 16 the month prior, started his 3-day suspension from school.
But the reason why you did that was because of what James was telling you, like when you guys were friends.
It's happened in front of me before too.
Oh, it's happened. So James's dad has hit him and done stuff in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of stuff would he do?
He just punch him in the neck or like elbow him in the side of the face area, and that's the only two things I ever saw.
That night, Fabiola claims she got into an argument with James that turned violent. While eating, he allegedly slapped her in the arm and flipped the table, all within earshot of the kids. Just before leaving with Bo and Lucas, James uttered these alleged final words to Fabiola: "I'll deal with you when I get back."
So that camera that you took would have had that recorded on there probably? Is that why you took it?
Did you do anything with the memory card in the back?
I don't think I did.
Why did you take the camera for, Lucas? It's okay, man.
It all happened so fast, you know?
Hey, Dad? He's in the bathroom. He'll be out in a minute. Alright. Matt. Holy fucking shit! We just fucking did. You're good. You're fucking good. I'm just having a... You guys, I have to remember. I want to take a fucking picture of the bath on the ground. I don't give a fuck. I don't have my phone. That's right. Dad! You alive? Good. I hope you die in hell, you fucking bitch. That's what you get for treating my mom like shit, you hear me? Don't ever come back in another life, fucker. Remember, do not tell your mom to death. At all. Don't even fucking talk to her. How do I? I don't know. Just don't tell her shit, man. Let's do it like this. I like it. Don't. No, I'm just showing you. Don't put another bullet in. Had it like this. Ooh! Now he's dead. Well, they're going to find the bullet in there. They're going to know it's 22 and a 380. That one's a 380, and I only 22. And he was at work. He has a fucking alibi. I don't have any gloves. I mean, they're going to know it's me. I mean, they are. He fucking killed his dad. Take a picture of that shit right now. I already did. Take another video.
Hey, that nigga thought we wasn't hard, huh? That's what you said, right? Hold on. What he said?
That's what he said.
How do I flip this camera? Said we wasn't hard. All dead and shit, bitch. Bow. Put one in his head.
I, James Bo Burkhart, did shoot and kill James Jason Burkhart, my father, out of fear and self-defense, Bo wrote in a letter to the state attorney. Lucas and I are best friends, considered brothers. I cannot and will not stand by while injustice is served. On the night of December 15th, 2020, I was suspended from school for a fight and was threatened multiple times about getting shot by people. I invited Lucas over to hang out. The bonus was him being there if anything happened. While Lucas was over, we were in the garage just talking about school and my girlfriend and other girls. My dad was asleep and mom and little brother were just hanging out. I don't really know, but my dad woke up and found out Lucas was over. It shouldn't have been a bad thing. We weren't doing anything except smoking weed, but no one knew except me and him. My dad was told by my mother that Lucas was over and got extremely mad. He usually gets really mad if he is not in control of everything. Me and Lucas didn't smell like weed, nor was there any indication. We heard my dad yell and scream, stomp and slam doors. I think they were cabinet doors, and he opened up the garage door and sent us to my room. After we closed the door, we heard yelling, screaming, stomping, and the sound of stuff being thrown and hitting walls. While we talked and sat in long periods of silence between us and listening to the fighting, I heard a skin-to-skin thump, and it was crying after that. My dad yelled to me and Lucas and told us to get our stuff and come on, that he was taking him home. My mom offered multiple times to take Lucas. She knew how embarrassing it is and how I get after fights like that. I get furious, depressed, wish I was somewhere else, suicidal, go into a trance trying to exit reality. After my mom's offering, my dad said no, he was going to take us and was going to deal with her later. Knowing that threat made, I was fearful to be alone with him and let my mom get beat again. We left to get food, and on the ride, he degraded us, told me and Lucas we were soft and not hard, didn't have it hard. He had a way to openly speak his thoughts over and over again. And after finally arriving at Lucas's residence, Lucas thought his dad was home or would be home, so we went inside. After entering the house, Lucas was looking for his dad. I looked around and I saw a gun. My dad in front of me walking, checking the place, was mumbling to himself. I thought to myself, I could not let myself and mom get beat over this. It was crazy. He was crazy. In a trance-like state, I grabbed the gun, put it to his head, determined to take a stand and stop a repeating cycle of hell. In my thoughts and trance state, holding it, he turned his head. I dropped and he turned again. I pulled the trigger. Everything after was panic. Lucas freaked out, not having a clue what to do, panicking, having to leave. He didn't do anything and reacted in a panic. There was no contention that Bo killed his father, but there was some wrangling over whether it was a spur-of-the-moment killing, as Lucas tried to convey.
What would you have done if your dad was home?
I wasn't gonna do anything.
Okay. So, I mean, you didn't really plan to shoot him then?
No, I didn't at all.
Okay.
Lucas would have known that his father wasn't home because he would have seen that his car wasn't in the parking space, state lawyers argued. They believed that the plan was to lure James into the home, for Bo to shoot him, and then for Lucas to take the fall for his best friend. And while none of the more than 50,000 messages reviewed by investigators lay out a plan to kill James, state lawyers argued that there were plenty of opportunities for them to talk about it in person, because there's video evidence of them together, such as this one taken 6 days before the shooting. It was an interesting case in that Lucas didn't have a lot of behavioral problems before this, said a psychologist who evaluated him. There was no history of any kind of acting out before he met Bo, or at least not that his parents were aware of. He did pretty well in school until the pandemic, when he didn't want to do online learning. That started falling apart for him, she continued. But then when he met up with James, there was a lot of minor things that started happening that his parents didn't really think was a big deal, but in retrospect now looks like a big deal, like the fact that some things came up missing, or there was evidence of substance use and things like that.
Hit this.
We know I'm about to fall asleep, bruh.
It's the Klonopin.
Yeah.
Nothing that they were alarmed about, but there were signs that his behavioral patterns were changing. Juveniles will much more likely engage in negative behaviors because of peer pressure, she continued. And so in this case, I do feel like that was a big factor for this crime, but also I think he's pretty susceptible to that as well. Lucas Benkert was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of aiding, inducing, or causing murder. He was 19 years old when he was sentenced to 45 years in prison. That left Bo Burkhart and an unusual defense. "20-year-old James Burkhart is driving his 1982 Ford Escort with a woman named Donna in the passenger seat. It's 30 years earlier, on October 22nd, 1990, and Donna, who was an acquaintance to James, had agreed to ride along to see a mutual named Clayton Ritchie. At some point on the way, James stops the car in an isolated area and gets out. Donna said she thought they were at or near Clayton's home, but they weren't. James pops open his trunk, and out steps Clayton with a .22 revolver, which he sticks to Donna's head and tells her, "This is for you, bitch. I've been waiting for this," according to a probable cause affidavit. The three then go for a ride. They make a stop at another remote location where Clayton hands his revolver to James and drags Donna out of the car, through an access road, and into a wooded area where he throws her in some foliage because she was resisting. At this time, James had left and returned with both the revolver and a handmade knife. Donna, who had been screaming for help but got none because the area was remote, said she overheard the two men saying they needed to kill her because she would go to the police and that they had a shovel to bury her. The victim was then forced to perform oral sex on Clayton, after which he told her that he won't kill her, but that he would need to convince James. Before driving her back home and warning her not to tell police or, "You know what will happen if you do," Clayton told Donna that she would have been the third of 5 victims, with Carol Wilson and Teresa Wilson being the 4th and the 5th. Approximately 16 months earlier, on June 26, 1989, Carol Wilson was home with her daughter Teresa and granddaughter Ashley when the dead-bolted front door of their apartment on South 11th Street in Richmond was kicked open. James Benkert had broken through, grabbed a piece of wood, and struck Carol in the chest and in the head with nunchucks and threatened to kill the women, including his own daughter and her mother, according to a probable cause affidavit. The fight escalated when Carol took the nunchucks and hit him back, which only made him more angry. He then grabbed a boot knife and stabbed Carol in the stomach and tried to stab his daughter before another of the Wilsons called police. Carol was rushed to Reed Memorial Hospital and survived. Before fleeing, James allegedly told the Wilsons that he would be back and return to the scene to kill them, and that they would die no matter where they were, according to the affidavit. James, whose sister said he grew up in an abusive home for a period and likely had some unresolved trauma from his childhood, was out on bail on an attempted murder charge for this incident, long enough for him to get together with Clayton to conspire to kill Donna, for which he was to serve 30 years in prison. Just before being released early in 2003, he met Fabiola, who said she had no idea why he was confined before she married him. Part of why she never reported him to police for all the claimed abuse was allegedly because he and his family threatened her about reporting him because he was on probation for 10 years and was afraid of going back. According to Fabiola, the Benkert kids would eventually learn about their father's criminal history, which the defense tried to enter as evidence to bolster their claim that there was abuse in the household that led up to the murder. But the court said that criminal history was far too remote. Beau's case, tried in January and February of 2024, essentially hinged on those final, ominous words James allegedly left for Fabiola before he took Lucas home. "I'll deal with you when I get back." "We never knew what was going to happen, and we never knew how it was going to end up," Fabiola testified in court about those alleged final words. In a normal self-defense case, there is an imminency by which a person acts. This is not one of those cases. The first question to answer is, did Beau decide to kill his dad before or after the alleged fight between his parents that night? And if it was after, what explains the time lag between the final words and the murder? The defense argued it was after, and to understand the gap in time, you need to know the impact the alleged abuse had on Beau. Defense expert Dr. Polly Westcott testified that a child growing up in a house with physical and emotional abuse will have stunted brain development and exhibit behavioral problems. There would be lower self-esteem and a lack of foundational experience that the child can call upon to navigate stressors, meaning they will grow up on constant alert, potentially overreacting to situations because they don't have the emotional maturity and higher brain function to understand what's going on and calm themselves down. Beau, who was diagnosed by Dr. Westcott with post-traumatic stress disorder and major depressive disorder with features of psychosis under stress, was determined to be underdeveloped and immature relative to his peers. There are studies where they look at children who have just witnessed abuse within their home. They compare them to people who have been to Vietnam and actually witnessed combat material, and they will show that the same areas of the brain are actually damaged. So it doesn't have to be that someone is in combat and actually having brain-based changes. It can simply be a child at home witnessing things, Dr. Westcott said. Trauma is defined by either the threat of serious injury, having sustained or having an experience of a serious injury, the very imminent thought that you're going to die or someone else close to you is going to die in that situation, or it even can be just hearing about somebody else who is really close to you that they've been in those situations, she said. They tend to feel like the world could end, I could end, my life could be over, my family's life could be over, and it becomes a very real aspect of their day-to-day living and their day-to-day thought process, she added. So when Bo heard his dad allegedly say he would deal with his mom when he got back, it triggered what the defense called a mode of protection. There's just one problem with that. Well, several, according to the state. Fabiola never told Dr. Westcott about a slap on the arm or a flip of the table that preceded those alleged final words, nor did Lucas Benkert tell investigators any specific physical altercation that night that got him to conspire with Bo to kill James. Those facts unravel a broader problem with the defense's case, state lawyers argued. The only claims of abuse in the Burkhart household came from Fabiola and her son Luke, both of whom had motives to protect Bo and whose testimonies are very difficult to corroborate. The only solid evidence to any sort of fighting otherwise were those messages found on Fabiola's phone that were sent to her sister-in-law and her pastor back in November 2017. Otherwise, there's no documented evidence of physical abuse, they said. None of the mandatory reporters who would have seen the kids regularly, including school officials, saw anything amiss, according to testimony. The state wondered, if James was so abusive, why would they do things that would trigger him? Why would Fabiola risk angering him by letting Bo text his girlfriend that night? Why would she sneak Bo's girlfriend from her house, when she wasn't allowed, and bring her back to their place if the big bad James wasn't going to be happy about it? Why was the house such a mess if James had a history of abusing her when it wasn't clean? The truth is, there wasn't a power imbalance in the relationship, and in fact, Fabiola was undermining James's authority, the state argued. There was testimony from people close to the Burkharts who said while James put in place house rules, Fabiola let the boys break them, which may explain why Lucas was at their house the day before and the day of, despite Bo's suspension. Otherwise, the children lived relatively normal, even privileged lives. They had expensive gaming consoles and laptops. James bought Bo a car, and as children, were engaged in wrestling and flag football, but gravitated toward electronics and gaming, according to one witness. The state also argued Fabiola had the money and the opportunities to flee the home with the kids, but didn't. For work, she had gone to Switzerland, West Virginia, and Arizona. Sometimes she would have the kids to herself. She even said James was at the casino on most nights. I was scared, Fabiola testified in response to a question about that in court. In the beginning, I did love him. My kids were born out of love, but I got scared. I really didn't know what to do. My mind was messed up. It was manipulated, and I was not making good choices. I was scared of him finding me. And the inconsistencies didn't stop there, the state argued. Fabiola said that she had called emergency services roughly 10 minutes after Bo returned home, which would have been around 8:03 p.m. But the 911 call came in at 9:22 p.m. For 1 hour and 19 minutes, Fabiola, Bo, and his brother Luke were together before the call was made. What were they doing in the interim? Talking about what Bo did, the state theorized. Furthermore, if Bo was acting in self-defense, why didn't he come out and say that instead of relying on his friend Lucas to take the fall? Why did he hide the .380? Why did he change his shoes before going to the police station? His text messages to his girlfriend were also curious. At just after noon that day, before the supposed fight between his parents, Bo tells her, "Sorry, my dad is being a bitch, yelling at me for trash, and just yelling at me, so I started yelling back. It made me leave my door open. That's how it's always been since I was a kid. I'ma piss him off. I got a knife on me, and I really feel like stabbing someone. I just need him to hit me once. It's like he will yell and get in my face, but I yell back and give attitude back. He becomes a bitch and doesn't get in my face and stays in his seat. I want this out of my house. I can hear his bitch ass watching TV. I hope someone pulls up to my crib, trying to box, and just shoots my dad. Fuck, that would be the best thing ever. Maybe I should start beef with someone. Who going to kill my dad? While the defense argued Bo just wanted to act tough to his girlfriend, the state pressed that these texts not only showed that Bo did not fear his father, but that the crime was actually premeditated. 6 minutes. That was the amount of time between the 2 shots fired into James. Each shot would have been fatal on their own. What explains the second shot if this was self-defense? Bo's actions afterward, the celebratory videos, the photos taken of the body, and the tattoo of the 2 murder weapons on his chest that he got after the murder are not ones of someone who is defending his mom, the state said. Bo needed to have a reasonable belief that his mom was going to suffer serious bodily injury for his claim to work. The first problem with that is there was no precedent for it. Fabiola testified that she never suffered serious injury, never received medical treatment, and never missed work as a result of the alleged abuse that was inflicted on her over the years. And even if she did, lawyers continued, Bo's actions were unreasonable in the context. He had minutes to think about it on the way to Lucas's place, minutes before the 2 shots, minutes of reflection that completely defeat his self-defense case. The minutes they had after the fact were spent coming up with a story, the state argued. And it was a story that was never consistent according to witness testimony. James's sister Jerry Lynn testified that she was the one to drop off Bo and Fabiola at the police station after the shooting. Left in the car with her was Luke Benkert. When pressed about what happened between Bo and James that night, Luke allegedly laughed at the suggestion that there would be any physical altercation between them because of how much bigger his brother was. My dad couldn't touch him, she claimed Luke said. The jury rejected Bo's plea of self-defense, and in that event, his claim of voluntary manslaughter, which would have been a finding that the developmentally stunted Bo acted under sudden heat, defined as a mental state that results from provocation sufficient to excite in the mind of the defendant emotions such as anger, rage, sudden resentment, jealousy, or terror, sufficient to obscure the reasoning of an ordinary person and, as such, prevent deliberation and premeditation. Instead, a unanimous jury found him guilty of murder, for which he was sentenced to 55 years in prison. Fabiola claimed she wanted to get Bo mental health treatment, but James allegedly prevented it. She admitted on the stand that Bo, who she referred to as a king and an emperor, was absolutely justified in the killing of his father after all the alleged abuse he went through. Bo's half-brother had a different view. He was my dad, and my boys loved spending time with him, Jason Benkert said of James. You guys would all play in the pool, have boys' nights, stay up late, and eat junk food. My kids have to struggle with the pain of having the same last name as a murderer. They feel like they're looked down upon at school because of the sick, demonic sacrifice that you did. It's been said that you think you're a gangster. To my dad's family, you're a coward. A gangster would have looked him in the face, not executed him when he wasn't looking, and a gangster would take his bid, but you were trying to get your little friend to take the blame for you. You're going to see some real gangsters in a few days, and we hope that you have a long, miserable time ahead of you. We don't wish death upon you, because that would be an escape. Your selfish act did more than take your dad's life. You took away a man who was loved by many people, and we know that when you executed him, before his body hit the ground, Jesus Christ got off his throne in heaven and snatched his soul so he didn't feel a thing. The sad thing is that's better than being alive and having to deal with the embarrassment and disgrace you have caused my family. As his son. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to me narrate this story, which is based on the primary sources. Special thanks to the record staff for their assistance and to you guys for engaging in the subject matter. I hope you're well, you're engaging in acts of charity, and I'll see you next time. Good night.